Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dr. Robinson again, and we're going to continue our studies. This time we're talking about sampling. A population is the group of interest, the people that we're interested in. Sample is a smaller group taken from the population. Representative sample is a portion of the population that is similar to the entire population. Bias sample is one in which some members of the population have a greater chance of being selected for the sample than the other members. Survey is a question or a set of questions used to gather data or pieces of information. Random samples are usually preferred when gathering information about a population. Note, in a random sample, each individual in the population has an equal chance of being part of the sample. So now that we got our definitions out of the way, let's look at what we're talking about. So here's our example. Carlos is going to survey students in his school to determine how many students use social media. Is the sentence below a good sampling method? So the sentence says, Carlos will survey 3 random students in the computer lab. Well, social media is very popular when people want to conversate with each other, and he's usually going to the computer lab because the computer is one way where you can get in touch with people by the internet. So if you have a computer, a laptop or something, so he's going to ask 3 random means just anybody, students in the computer lab. Well, is this a good method? I would say no. And the reason I would say no is because if he's looking at his school, I'm sure there's more than 3 people that he can talk to, and everybody may not be in the computer lab. You might want to check the gymnasium and auditorium, different places other than just the computer lab. So that's why I would disagree with this. So his sample size is a little bit too small for me. He needs to get a bigger population or sample population. Let's try another one. Carlos is going to again survey his school to determine how many students use social media. It's the sentence below a good sampling method. Carlos will survey all of his friends. Now, if he only talks to his friends, is that going to be indicative of the whole school? Because unless he's friends with everybody in the whole school, then, and that's a lot of friends, that would be a good idea, but I don't think Carlos is friendly with everybody because there might be some people who are new that moved to the school and he may not know them. So I, again, am going to say no. And if I can get this, so no is the correct answer. And I don't know why it's not working. But the answer is no. So no would be the correct response. All right, let's look at another one. Oh, check your understanding. See if you understand it so far. If you're uncertain, write down your questions. Go over the vocabulary again. Rewatch the video if you need to. Here's a question for you. Carlos again is surveying the school, students in the school, to determine how many students use social media. How about this sentence for a good sampling method? Carlos will survey every 3rd student leaving the school. So every 3rd student, so he'll count 1 student, then 2 students, then he'll ask the 3rd person, what do you think about social media? How do you use it? Then he'll count 1, then he'll count another student, and then another student, and survey that 3rd student and ask them. this seems pretty good to me. So I would say yes, because he's getting everybody who's leaving the school, so he's getting a large population. He doesn't have to count everybody, but every third student. So I would say yes. See if it'll go in this time. And it's not going in. Well, the answer is definitely yes. All right, let's look at this question. The table below shows the results of Maya's survey from Peekskill Middle School. If there are 400 students at Peekskill Middle School, how many would you predict prefer language arts? So subject math, number of students 15, science 20 students prefer that, and I'm happy about the 15 students for math, but science seems to be winning. Language arts 10, and social studies 5. So language arts is what we're interested in. How many students like it? It's 10. Now, that's 10 students out of the total of, if we add this all up, 50 students. So we have 10 students that like language arts. So let's write that over here. 10 students out of 50. And if we cancel out the 0, that'll be 1/5 of the students like language arts. So since 1/5 like language arts and there are 400 students, if I multiply 400 times 5, 1/5, I'm sorry, 400 times 1/5, I'll get 400 on the top, because 400 times 1 is 400, and 1 times 5 is 5 for the denominator, and that'll give me 80 students would be a good prediction that like language arts. So I would say the prediction would be 80 students. And another way of setting it up, we had our 10 students out of 50 that surveyed that like language arts. So how many out of 400? And if you remember how to solve equal proportions or equal fractions here, we cross multiply and solve for x. We would have 50 times x equals 50x. 10 times 400 is 4,000. Divide both sides by 50, and x will equal to 80. So that was a good question. Here's one for you. Christina took a survey of students in her grade to estimate the number of students who have cell phones. She surveyed 70 students and said 45 said they have, missing an E, have cell phones. If there are 300 students in her grade, she might expect about how many of them to have cell phones. So see if you can figure that one out. Good question. So I hope this lesson was easy for you, and if it wasn't, write down your questions, bring them in. I'll be glad to talk with you in class about them. So this is Dr. Robinson signing off. See you next time. Bye-bye.